Rumor has it that swapping out blow-off valves in the Mazdaspeed 3 increases horsepower. Well, we want to see if that's true. We're throwing it on the dyno here at Synapse Engineering, and we're going to see if just swapping out the blow-off valve is going to make a difference. One of the more interesting results of our testing with this brand new Mazdaspeed 3 has really been to see how the car performs bone stock. The great thing about the car is that it reaches its torque peak by about 3,250 RPM and doing it at 229 foot-pounds of torque. Maximum horsepower was at 192 horsepower, right around 6,000 RPM, and as you can see the power drops off considerably for horsepower right about 6,250 or right about its horsepower peak. Torque also drops off, and the real way to see what the telltale is of why that is to take a look at the boost pressure. As you can see, the boost pressure peaks out right around 5,750 RPM. What is unbelievable is how boost drops completely off the map between 5,700 RPM and 6,800 RPM or red line. As you can see, the car is great for boost response. It makes maximum boost of about 15.8 pounds of boost by 3,000 RPM, which follows the torque peak, which follows the horsepower curve, but as you can see, where the horsepower drops off, it's coincided exactly with the boost dropping off. The user saw this and said, God, these numbers are pretty low for what a typical Mazdaspeed 3 should be putting out. And so he thought that the gas that he put in recently was actually bad gas and impacted how the car worked. So we went out and picked up some octane booster, put it in the tank, ran it on the dyno to see if there really was a difference. Now here's a really amazing chart. The user was right. He did have some bad gas in the tank. Once we put some octane booster in the car, as you can see, we went from making a peak horsepower number of 192 horsepower to right around 222 horsepower. And the boost didn't exactly change at all. So the boost curve didn't change. It looks like the computer was adjusting the ignition timing, which the horsepower followed, for the bad gas and for the rough combustion it must have been producing. So on this car, we're going to use the 222 horsepower as a baseline when we compare it to before and after putting on the synchronic blow-off valve. In place. Once we bolted on the synchronic blow-off valve, you can immediately see a difference and an increase in horsepower and torque. The solid green line is with the synchronic blow-off valve installed. We went from 220 horsepower to 248 horsepower, yielding us a gain of about 28 horsepower just by switching from a blow-off valve that leaked, the factory one, to one that doesn't leak. And you can see that the power gain is across the entire curve. The blue line is your torque number, and you can see that there's a shift in the power curve for torque all the way across the board.